Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Mets. And
Let's do it.
this is gonna surprise some people because like everyone knows, like I don't really talk about baseball much. I do like talking about sort of general conversations about baseball because I think baseball is a very, very unique sport for many reasons. There's always a conversation about like, yo, is baseball dying? Do millennials like it? This and that. Me personally, when the Mets are good, I'm all in and I'll watch the Mets. Like,
Queens kid.
yeah, you got to, man.
Come on.
You got to. Like 8 minutes from my old neighborhood was Shea Stadium and Citi Field. So for me, when I expect the Mets to be good and I look at like the Vegas win totals and they're like, yo, 91 and a half games. I have like the third best record in the NL. You're like, oh, okay.
Listen.
Okay, we're one of the favorites to win the National League. Like, I'm in, you know? And then, of course, they get Lindor. They got DeGrom, which, yo, tell me not, bro. When they paid DeGrom and then Garrett Cole got the contract with the Yankees, like, we fleeced DeGrom. Because if
It's
you were
such
to
a
pay,
discount. Yeah.
yo, such a discount, right? Like, if you were to pay DeGrom after that, you're looking at, like, way more money than what Cole got.
And I hope he gets paid handsomely when he's due, and I hope we extend him before he could ever even consider. And I hope they pay him handsomely. Like, do what you got to do to keep that guy. He's spoken recently about being the long-term Met, being around when David Wright was around, and when he got his farewell tour. He's just like, yo, like that doesn't happen really often. Seeing David Wright do that was pretty cool. You know, I hate saying he got fleeced, but he kind of did. But at the same time, it was up to him and his representation.
Right.
I speak about this topic a lot to my friends, and I speak about market value. It's
Ooh,
always changing.
Yeah, bro, you see it with the quarterbacks all the time.
And let's talk about Trevor Bauer. He's earning $40 million this year. You know, taxes included. It might get cut in half.
Yeah, whatever. But still, it's a 40.
He signed a $40 million deal. And the Mets were ready to give him that too. And I think they're ready to give him that because they missed out on like the Springers and they didn't even offer Real Muto. I think he was just holding out, and they're like, the numbers behind that are just like they went with McCann because if they do that, then they could trade for Lindor and extend him in Conforto. So I was like, I'm all for it. I'd rather that route anyways. And it's cool that they were in on all these free agents. I'm not used to that. This is unfamiliar.
Man.
This is very unfamiliar territory.
That's another thing that drew me back in. Like, this owner is talking about the new jersey, bringing back the jerseys that he liked.
Yep.
And he's basically what a fan would be like.
Exactly.
I've always wanted a Mark Cuban to own the team.
Yo,
he's basically that dude.
He's that. A fun fact, I don't think anyone knows this. Well, I'm not going to say anyone. A lot of people don't know this. But Mark Cuban tried to get into owning baseball.
Bro, I've talked about this, but the owners didn't want him in because they knew
him.
Because he said that I would love to own a baseball team because I don't got no salary cap.
Yep.
And he just wants to win.
Yeah.
So if he could just blow money crazy.
Yep.
And they kept him out. Yeah, I've read that.
I think it was the Pirates too. So like, think about that. If you're a Pirates fan or a Pittsburgh dude, like they suck. They're one of the worst teams. And I speak about that. I love baseball. It's probably my favorite sport because I played it growing up. I love the Mets, and I think basketball and baseball are like 1A and 1B to me. More so baseball, but I'm just so into it. Even when you mentioned initially, like, you know, a lot of people are into baseball. It's boring, but it's unique. You know, so it's like it's a different sport. You really have to be into it to like sit through a 3 or 4 hour game where you might not get any runs. But I love pitching personally, so I will watch every pitch and every inning, and you know, see how DeGrom got out of that. How did Stroman, you know, change the way he pitches, or, you know, Thor's coming back. Looking forward to see if he can continue learning how to pitch because he was on the cusp of becoming a thrower to a pitcher. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that.
I love that.
With
Yeah.
pitchers, like you become a pitcher over time with experience, and sometimes you're just a thrower. You know, so it's just like a lot of things to be excited about with this Mets team. And I know before I came on, I was just like, yo, we got to talk Mets if I come on because I want to talk about this team and I want to see how you feel. You know, and I always fight with people when they say baseball is boring. I'm just like, to you, you know, like.
Well, everyone got their own thing that they're into.
Exactly.
My biggest issue with baseball is I think there's a lot of games.
So many.
I feel as if I've seen it so many times where up until the All-Star break, just be 500, right? Like that's what I thought when I'm following the Mets. I'm like, all right, are they 500? Maybe 1 or 2 games below 500 or around there. And then there's always a trade deadline.
That's normal. That's crazy. That's normal. And we're getting used to unfamiliar territory.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. So with baseball, I feel like the numbers should be like in the 120s, 130 range, cut like 30-something games. Because I think one big appeal with March Madness coming up, right, in a couple of weeks.
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, you being a Syracuse guy for sure, and
I
I'm
mean,
gonna end up.
We're not gonna get in this year. But,
Yeah.
I still love it.
But I'm gonna end up gambling on kids that are not gonna be professional athletes and are younger than me. So that's like my number one rule. When people are like, "Yo, you gonna bet on the tournament?" I was like, "I'm gonna bet, but I'm an idiot and I shouldn't because I don't like betting on people that are younger than me and aren't professional athletes. They're gonna end up being accountants and teachers. Like, nah, I'm good, man." But also, the biggest appeal to March Madness is that there's urgency, right? There's one game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, you shoot fucking 27% from three, you're gonna get bounced by a 12 seed.
Yeah.
So that's why people like March Madness, and it's so quick hitting. So with baseball, I personally I love the wild card thing.
Yo.
The one game shit, those are always lit, especially when it was like those games in Toronto, right? The Mets even played one, and I know they lost to the Giants, but that was Syndergaard and Bumgarner. And like you said,
Yes.
the pitching, there was like
That was
0-0
crazy.
going into the eighth. Everyone that I was watching the game with, they're like, yo, this shit is ass. I'm like, bro, they're getting out of like runner on second and third, no outs. And
High leverage, intense.
Yeah,
Like, you
man.
gotta really, like, if you don't know about the sport or you aren't as into it, I guess you won't feel it as much. But like, I remember that 2015 run like it was yesterday, just because it was like every game was intense. And I think the craziest series was their first series against the Dodgers, because it was just like, it was Jacob deGrom's coming out party. They beat Kershaw. Murphy turned it on, and you didn't know he was going to turn it on for the rest of that postseason, but he was just like the unsung hero of that series and the whole run. But it's just like all these pieces are coming together, and like, we're not supposed to be there, and we made it there. And I think that's another part of the sport that's so pretty cool. And you look at the Royals that beat us that year. The year before, they just fell short, and the year before that, they sucked, and even now they suck. So look, like, sometimes you're due, sometimes it's your time, sometimes it isn't, and it wasn't for the Mets that year. But like, I went to a World Series game, the only one we won. Thank God, because if I went to an L, it would have sucked. It still would have been cool, but it was the first World Series game at Citi Field, and I saw a dub. That's when Syndergaard threw at homeboy. He said, "Meet me 60 feet and 6 inches." Like, like, look at that. Sticks with me.
Man.
Sticks with the fans, and I'm just so excited about the Mets this year.
Yo, they get Lindor, who I feel like he's a household name, even if you're not really following baseball like that. He's one of the 5-6 most marketable guys. Mr. Smiley is like,
Smile.
and you bring a guy in like that, like, it's hard for you not to create buzz in the city and even like league wide too. And you got Syndergaard coming back. You got some of these young guys that took steps. I mean, Alonso too, and all this, and the new ownership.
Right.
So I'm really pumped, man. What do you think is the upside for the Mets? Like, realistically.
So you want to do like floor ceiling?
Yeah, I'm talking about like what's like an LCS, World Series. Like, what do you think?
So I think playoffs isn't guaranteed. I'm going to say number one, because I think there's going to be a lot of changes. It's a long season. People could get injured.
COVID too.
COVID.
Yeah.
Thor could have a setback, or like, I feel like we've equipped our team as best as possible. Thanks to Steve Cohen. Shout out to the God. Uncle Steve, man. Love that guy. But yeah, like, I feel like we're equipped to make a run, put ourselves in a position to win 90-plus games. If not, make a wild card. And then take it from there, because you just never know. I don't want to say we're going to make a World Series or it's a World Series or bust, because you just never know with baseball. It's a volatile sport. Like, someone could get Tommy John and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
You could lose your best player to like an ankle injury and he's
out
gone,
6 to 8 weeks.
and then you lose a lot of games and you put yourself in a position where you have to play catch up. They were in that situation last year. I think they were like 3 games out. If they would have swept that last series, they would have made it to the playoffs. Like, look at that. It's just like down to the wire. And it's kind of why I like the longer seasons. 60 games was trash, personally. Like, that short was whack. 120 would be cool, like you mentioned. But I think we have everything to get there, and I like listening to SNY and all these dudes speaking on it, and then I have my own opinion, because sometimes I don't agree with these dudes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have my own opinion, and like, I play a lot of fantasy sports, so like, I'm really in the mix right now. I'm currently in a GIF draft actually right now. So
What is that?
Essentially we just throw a GIF in. We did the order, drop the order, and then everyone goes little by little, and it's snake, and we operate it in group me, and we talk about it in our regular text. So it's like, all right, this dude's up, I just picked. So we started earlier this week, and we'll just like go all the way through until we get through, like, I think it's like 19 rounds, 21 rounds. Baseball is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of different ways. But like I'm currently in a gift draft, and I had number 2. I almost went DeGrom, but I went Trout because I can't skip Trout. That
Who
dude's
went first?
Acuna, 40-40. You know, like you
Yeah.
can't pass up on something like that. But like to see DeGrom going that high, to see these rankings, and you know we have 2 top 15 players. One's DeGrom, one's Lindor. Like, you know, Lindor changed everything for this team personally, because he's gonna make J.D. Davis better at third base. He's gonna bring the morale. He's gonna bring, you know, that face of the franchise that we so desperately need. I think because I think it's DeGrom, but he's not vocal. He's more like
He's not vocal, and he's also a pitcher too,
Yeah.
man. I feel like you need to have a guy.
he
out
goes
on the
every
field.
exactly. He goes
Right.
every 5 days. You need someone that's going to take at bats every day, or he's going to play like 150 or 160 games. You know.
Have you ever thought about what they do in Japan, where they pitch their guys every 6 days, and like no one
Yeah.
really gets Tommy John out there, bro?
Yeah, I think a few teams are, you know, thinking about doing that now, but sometimes some people are stubborn. Like I heard Bauer wants to go every 4 days, and I'm just like, you know, like everyone's different, everyone, you know, but at the same time, is the team gonna let them do that? Probably not. But the every 6 days thing would be pretty cool because it'll keep them fresh. But at the same time, you're cutting starts for someone like DeGrom.
That's
so
true.
like, are you gonna get that quality start or that win? Like he hasn't gotten a lot of wins, unfortunately, but he's still so dominant. Like it's just a 0-0, 1-0 game, and the bullpen blows it. That's the scariest part to me right now about the Mets is the bullpen. They didn't do enough, I think. So that's why I'm like, you know, I think we can be a wild card team. I think we can win the division. The 95 wins, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, like it's a little too much for me. I think we'll be like right over 90 because that puts us in Yankee territory, and they're
Yeah.
always consistently
Yeah,
90,
yeah.
and they hit that consistently. But the division's a little easier this year. It's been a little bit easier over the last few years. But then again, like when the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and now the Rays, like when they're all clicking, it's super competitive. But now the NL East has the Braves, who've won the division the last few years, the Phillies, who got Harper and they retooled again, the Nats, who just won the World Series 2 years ago, the Marlins just went to the playoffs last year. And, you know, these are all up and up teams, and they're going to compete. It's going to be a bloodbath, and that's why it's going to be so fun watching every day.
You know, one of the reasons why I came to that number, the 120, 130 range, is because you play your division opponent 18 times. So it's like, do you really
Could be
need
overkill.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
could be
like
overkill.
why not do it? You know, Phillies and Mets, they play 12 games, 6-6 or 4-2, however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think 12 games is enough to realize like if
Yeah.
you're better than a certain team. So if you cut that, right, you take away 6 games from the Marlins, Phillies, Braves, and the Nats, right? So that's 24 games. From 162, you're down to like 138. I think that's a good number there.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think you need to even in the NBA, like the Raptors and Knicks don't need to play that many times. Like you could just tell.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think-
I feel like with the NBA, I would do it East and West. You play each other one time, home and away, like how they've been doing it, and then you play your division twice. So you'll play twice against the Raptors, twice against the Knicks in New York and in Toronto.
Right.
And then you play everyone in the East. If you're the Knicks, you play the Heat once, home and home. Before you know it, it comes out to 72 games. So you shave off 10 games.
I like that idea. You know who doesn't like that idea?
The leagues.
The leagues.
Because they want to
and
make
the
money.
owners, because they want to make
Yeah,
money.
and now
you
they're
know?
letting fans back in. We were talking about this before we started recording. You got to get my buddy Impy went to the game last Saturday, and I had tickets for, I mean, at the time of recording tomorrow when they play the Pistons before the All-Star break, but I just couldn't go get COVID tested.
Yeah.
You have to get tested 3 days before. At least it is for New York and with the Garden.
Right, I read
I'm not
into
really
that.
sure about Barclays, but that's another thing that they're doing now to get fans back in the arena. And I feel like what we were talking about earlier before about how just, you know, caring about others and just feeling better knowing that like, all right, yo, everyone here has been tested and I'm good. I'm not in the COVID center right
Yep,
now. I'm
yep.
at the Garden just chilling. I
A
can,
little bit of normalcy, just it goes a long way, you know. And it's like we took a lot of that stuff for granted, and now
Fuck
you
yeah,
just
we
see,
did.
You just see like, all right, I got a little bit of Knicks, a little bit of MSG back, or I could be out in front of MSG, or like, you know, I wish I was out there the other night when they were celebrating once we were 500 or over 500, and like I was celebrating my group chats and on Twitter. I'm just like, yo, I'm hyped. Like the Knicks have sucked for a good
We deserve
majority
this,
of
bro.
the last 2 decades. 2013 was the outlier.
Yeah.
And that's because Melo put the team on his back. Stop disrespecting my guy, Melo. So, like good
his career, I think, has aged the best.
yeah, I think so.
Because look, I wasn't at the time that they had him. I loved him being here. Did he frustrate me? Yeah, he did. But then when he leaves, you start looking at no superstar, and I put air quotes not to disrespect him, but like people throw the term superstar around, but like no all NBA, all star player had more starting five combinations in that tenure than Melo, multiple head coaches. And it's like, yo, at what point is it like, yo, man, I was the only stable thing that you guys had, right? And then he was out the league for a year, and he comes back and he dropped 29 the other day against LaMelo. And I love all those memes. I was like, yo, bro, if Melo is LaMelo Ball to her, then she's too young for you, bro.
Yo,
like, that's
there was
Melo,
so many
man.
great memes.
Yeah, and also that's your guy too,
Yeah,
Syracuse,
man.
Yep.
I got into Melo when he went on that run. My dad put me on, and you know what? I always regret this. Probably he wanted to bring me to the Big East championship game, and then I think I couldn't go. Or I was just like too young, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just watch it home, and they won. And I'm just like, that was right before they went on to March Madness, and that's when I really got into March Madness and hoop a little more. So like that's one of my biggest regrets with Melo, but it's like that's probably one of my favorite players of all time to this day. I do Three to the Dome religiously. It's a Knick thing now too, but it's like it's cool to see that he's getting his flowers. He's top 10 scoring all time. He's only gonna keep rising now, and it's just like I like what you mentioned. He's had one of the better aging careers where like he's been able to have a redemption story, and I'm really glad for him because he deserves it, and he doesn't look like he. Does he look like he should be out the league?
Nah, that was the most disrespectful thing.
And I think he'll be around for a couple more years. So, like, I'm pretty glad, and I'll tune into a lot of Blazers games when I can.
Well, I have league pass because of them, because I love Damian Lillard. That's my favorite basketball player. So, I mean, I think that I've watched the most outside of the Knicks. I've watched the Blazers the most over the last like 2-3 years.
They're a really fun team. I like Dame. I like him. I like CJ. They're gonna get him back soon.
Yeah.
I think they can make a run if they do it right. But it's like there's a lot of ways that could go. But getting back to the original, orange and blue is popping right now.
Yeah, man,
orange
really
and
is.
blue is popping right now.
It really is. We deserve it though, man. We've been a laughing stock for many years. I mean, both teams, right? Like even the Mets in the 2015 thing. Like, whenever it's Bobby Bonilla Day, it's always like, yo, these assholes are still paying them and shit.
Every time that comes up, I make sure to drop a link where people know that there's way more people getting deferred money late. And it's like, you think about, I forgot who mentioned it, but they were like, yo, by the time Tatis's contract is done, will be one more year left for paying Bobby Bonilla. And he signed a 14-year deal. So it's just like, you think about that and just like, damn, these jokes are going to keep coming. I'm a little bit more equipped for it now, because I got that back pocket link where I'm like, yo, this dude's making that much. And, like Scherzer has this much deferred money. He's going to be getting paid into his 40s and he's going to be on his couch, So it's like, but Bobby Bonilla, So I'm used to it by now and it'll roll around again in July. But it's just like, now you don't really got to worry about that because you got Lindor on the field and you got DeGrom going every 5 days and you upgraded at catcher, and you're one of the best teams in the NL East and the NL. These rankings come out and they have the Mets in the top 5 in the whole MLB, 30 teams. It's like crazy, unfamiliar, surreal territory. And we're here. So like, I'm ready for it. I'm going to be watching almost every game if I can. I'm looking forward to it, man.